With small luxury crossovers becoming increasingly ubiquitous, it's getting difficult for brands to sort of find a way to stand out from the crowd. Lexus offers the NX300 in this market segment, which at the very least, in F-Sport trim, is more interesting to look at than moldy toast. But in this extremely hot class of vehicles, is the NX300 enough? Or is it just another cynical marketing exercise? You know, like the idiotic BMW X2 or the hot garbage Infiniti Q30. Remember that thing? That was the one that Infiniti like rang up Mercedes and they were like, hey, what if we borrowed your A-Class platform, but we made it worse in every way? And Mercedes was like, stop calling us. That thing was, wait, what? Oh, right, the review. What's going on, everyone? Jax here, and today I have the 2021 Lexus NX300 in F-Sport trim. When the NX300 first came out in 2015, I thought it was one of the sort of least offensive examples of the Lexus design language. Kind of boring, actually. But in this F-Sport trim, and considering how apparently easy it is to ruin simple two-box SUV design, I actually think it's one of the better looking vehicles in the class. Not that the bar is all that high, but still, it looks pretty good overall. The LED lighting package certainly helps, although I'm not quite sure it's worth the $1,500 that Lexus charges for it. But the NX also somehow comes across as a little less special than some of the German competition, even the dumb ones. And it doesn't really carve its own path, for better or worse, like vehicles like Cadillac's XT4 or Lincoln's Corsair. Still, as small luxury crossovers go, the NX is quite decent. I'm just not sure it looks its $52,000 price. Yes, you heard that right. The NX300 F-Sport that you see here behind me is optioned up to nearly $52,000, which would easily buy the very excellent and fully loaded Toyota Highlander Hybrid, the Acura RDX A-Spec, or like a fraction of a Bitcoin or something. So there has to be like an upside, right? Like it's powered by the V8 from the Lexus LC500 or something along those lines. There's got to be an upside, right? What you get instead is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder making 235 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. And that's all mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission. That powertrain allows the NX to hit 60 miles per hour in a time that's acceptable to people who read Good Housekeeping or magazines in general. It's an unexceptional combination that is acceptably quick when the turbo comes on, but that's like about all you can say for it. It's always perfectly adequate. It's never compelling in any way. It's also, to be quite honest, a little coarse and buzzy, and you hear more from it than you would expect in a Lexus cabin, which I found to be rather surprising. And speaking of that interior, this is really kind of a mixed bag for me. It's sort of oddly designed and not really what I've come to expect from Lexus on the inside of a car. The materials are just okay, the ergonomics are a little bit strange overall. Like, why is the steering wheel heater button down by my left knee? And the upper part of the center stack is like facing upwards, like facing the headliner, which for someone my height is not really a problem, but If you were a shorter person, that would be pretty awkward. It's fairly spacious for a vehicle of this size though, and thanks to the F-Sport Premium package, a more than $2,300 option, it comes with some excellent heated and cooled seats, a power sunroof, as well as driver memory function. So that's nice. $2,300 nice. Although I really love these F-Sport seats and it might be worth the price for these alone. Lexus F-Sport seats are really good, although, and this could just be me, I don't feel like these are quite as nice as the ones in the ES350 F-Sport that I had recently, but they're still really good seats. Could absolutely just be my imagination. This NX is also equipped with navigation as well as the Mark Levinson audio system, which is a $3,000 option. And that brings with it a 10.3-inch infotainment display, which doesn't seem like 10.3 inches, like maybe 10.3 inches across, and it's like widest point, but like whatever. As well as the eponymous audio system. Fancy word right there. Eponymous. It means named after something. That would be Mark Levinson, whoever he is. It's fine here, definitely better than average, but it's not as sort of revelatory as it was in the ES350, where I was like mind blown, this sounds incredible. Here, it's just really, really good. Not that I am an authority on such things, but take it with a grain of salt, I guess. What I mean is that you could probably skip it if you want to. Kind of like Lexus skipped a power liftgate, which seems a little offensive at this price. I've got a heated steering wheel next to my knee, but I have to use my own physical power to close the liftgate on my $52,000 SUV? For shame. So here we are behind the wheel of the Lexus NX 300 F Sport, and I will tell you right off the bat, this car is way too floaty in its sort of normal suspension mode. In fact, if I'm being honest with you, it's way too floaty in most of its suspension modes. Normal mode is extremely floaty. Sport mode is moderately floaty. Only in Sport Plus mode does the sort of adaptive suspension begin to feel more buttoned down. And this is weird because I had the ES350 F Sport not long ago, a couple reviews back, and I thought the difference in suspension modes was quite good. In fact, I thought Sport mode in that was a very nice compromise, and Sport Plus felt appropriately sporty. It felt pretty good. That's not really the case here. We're in normal mode right now, and it's pretty smooth over this relatively smooth road. It's smooth over the smooth road. Nothing like the old Jack's commentary on this high quality YouTube channel. But we're about to turn onto the handling road, and I've already been down it a few times, and it really starts to fall apart on this not so great pavement. Turn onto the handling road now, and I will show you what I mean. So in this first segment here, there is a lot of bad pavement on the right-hand side of the car. And you notice that like the car, it sort of bounces around. It's almost as unsettled as the Ford Ranger was, and that car was trash. And coming around the first corner, it rolls over on its side, leans a little bit more than I would like for something with the F Sport badge. And then over these sort of general heaves, it's just not ever calm. The big bump is coming up on the front right corner. I would hit it harder, but there's a car in front of me going approximately 7 miles an hour. So we're coming up to the large bump right about here. And there's just a couple secondary and tertiary, that means 3, motions after you hit that bump, and the car kind of rocks back and forth. Now this is a problem on cars with shorter wheelbases. Shorter wheelbase cars tend to have a more difficult time staying settled. But you know what didn't have as much of a difficult time on this road? The Lexus UX, the tiny one that's kind of dumb and pointless. That car didn't really have a hard time staying composed. In fact, that car also had another advantage that I noticed in that it had the sort of F Sport style gauge cluster, that LFA mimicking center tachometer, speedometer gauge cluster that kind of moves around coolly. This car doesn't have that. This car has sort of boring normal analog gauges, which seems like a big miss. I don't really understand why in this sort of premium product with the F Sport line, it has these dull, kind of uninspired gauges. It's really sort of disappointing considering the regular Lexus sort of standard center gauge looks pretty neat, has that motorized action. Now the seats in the driving position are pretty good, especially for someone my size. There's room in the back. I'm 6'6". Hey friends who always make fun of me for saying that. Hey guys, I'm 6'6". Maybe I'll even put a graphic on the screen, maybe a measurement just to drive that point home. I am 6.5 feet tall. It's actually a lie, I'm 6'5" and change, but let's round up. But the driving position is great for me and it's fairly roomy behind me, but just nothing about this feels very special. The steering is fine, but kind of lifeless. The brakes are fine, a little bit dead at the top. The engine is also fine. It's not exceptional. There's nothing particularly inspiring about it. It's fast enough for the class, but it's a little coarse and a little grainy, and you hear a lot more of it than I would expect. It's sort of a unpleasant racket when you put the pedal down. Not what I would expect from a Lexus. Overall, it's just kind of a disappointing driving experience. It's just kind of a disappointing vehicle. Ergonomically, it's a bit strange. It feels like some of the buttons and the little Lexus infotainment controller are all kind of sandwiched in here. And at $52,000, it should feel special. Let's cane it and see what happens. I will say when the turbo comes on, there is enough motivation. It actually sounds better at wide open throttle than it sounds when you're sort of partially accelerating. It gets a little bit of a growl going there, but it's still just kind of, eh. Also, I just found this out. This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. What is this? A mirror that comes out of the center console with a little leather pull tab? This is like the most Karen thing I've ever seen. So you can touch up your makeup in between your kids' soccer matches. Like, why is there a mirror that comes out of the car? Is it for signaling for help? So should you buy a Lexus NX300 F Sport? No, you shouldn't. At least not one for this vehicle's as-tested price. It just doesn't drive well enough. It just doesn't feel special enough to command that kind of money, in my opinion. Put it this way, after I drove this Lexus NX300 F Sport, I had a 2021 Mazda CX-9 Signature, which is the highest trim that Mazda offers. It's fully loaded with pretty much every available option. And while I loved the CX-9 when I reviewed one last year, I did say that I felt it was a bit too small for the class of vehicle. However, the 2021 model that I just had just cost a hair over $48,000, which for you mathematically challenged people is $4,000 less than this Lexus NX300 F Sport. At a certain point, no matter who you are, money matters. And for people buying vehicles in this price range, even at this sort of higher premium luxury price, $4,000 is a not insignificant amount of money, especially when you could have saved that money and got a larger, more fully featured, and in my opinion, better looking vehicle. You also could get a fully loaded Highlander hybrid at this same price, which is not only a larger vehicle with as many options, but it gets even better gas mileage than this smaller NX. Far better gas mileage, honestly. And if you don't want the size associated with those more full-size SUVs, you could always buy something like the Acura RDX A-Spec, which is slightly larger than the NX, but not that much bigger. However, it feels way more spacious inside, it drives better, and the interior appointments are at least as good as the Lexus. With new car average vehicle prices just now touching $40,000 in the US, which is insane. I think for a lot of buyers, even up at this price range, value has to be taken into account. It absolutely is part of the equation. So if you're looking for a small luxury crossover, honestly, you'd get more for your money looking elsewhere. Guys, thanks so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoy the sort of information that I provide on this channel. I always try to come from a sort of practical mindset. I don't make a ton of money. Mrs. Jackson and I are both teachers, and so sometimes when I'm reviewing these premium and sort of luxury vehicles, I want to communicate the sort of value equation to you because I just can't help but think of it. I wouldn't casually dismiss the amount of money that some of these cars cost or some of the option packages cost. So I want to communicate that to you guys. If you are supremely wealthy and it doesn't matter, I hope you find the video informative anyway. And as always, ride safe, drive safe, and I will catch you in the next review. Peace. I'd appreciate if you'd stop screaming. Your dad is walking away because you're annoying. Also, this wind sucks. Also, kids who scream every word they say sucks. Also, guys who come to fix the water fountain right over there. This place is completely empty this beautiful day, and today is the day you fix the water fountain with your impact wrench. Oh, behind the scenes, 2021. Hey kids, testing 2 cars a week is a lot of fun. Unless you make a mistake like that. So I don't hurl myself from a moving vehicle when I realize that I didn't record anything properly. Don't worry, I won't actually do that. Maybe.